Hello everyone, my name is John Bussart. I'm an HP Solutions Center engineer for Ingram Micro. I help support servers, blade systems, storage, as well as networking technology solutions from HP. In this series of videos, we're exploring the HP StoreOnce line of deduplicated disk-based backup systems. These are backup targets for your backup software, so something like HP's Data Protector you'd show to this appliance. What I like to do in my videos is like to show you a slide from a popular PowerPoint and explain to you what that means within a management console. Today I have chosen HP's StoreOnce VSA, or Virtual SAN Appliance. So what HP has done is taken the code that runs on these physical appliances and repackaged that up as a virtual machine that you could plug into your VMware or a Hyper-V environment. Another nice thing about the StoreOnce VSA is they also include the StoreOnce Catalyst licenses, so that's the ability to do deduplication anywhere along the lines of your backup process, and it also comes with the replication license as well. Alright, so what I plan to show you inside this video is how you would deploy a StoreOnce VSA into your environment. So with that being said, let's show you the interface. Alright, we're inside the vSphere web client. This is certainly the direction that VMware has been moving in as far as its management interface. So I'm going to use this interface to actually deploy the software. I've downloaded the software here, right, and then I've extracted it into this folder. And if you look in there, there's some documentation on the product as well as this folder. And if I burrow in a little bit deeper, you'll see here is the OVF file that we'll need to do the deployment. Right, so I'm going to go into Host and Clusters, expand out my data center. I'm also going to expand out my cluster as well. I'm going to right click on my cluster and then select Deploy OVF Template. I'm going to allow this setting. Right, and I'm going to select the OVF file. Right, I've already browsed out to it. Let's see where it is. I'm going to select the OVF file and select Open. Next. It's going to ask me to review the details on this OVF file. I'm going to select Next again. If I want to change the name, I can certainly change the name. I'm going to want to deploy it inside this data center. And I'm going to select Next again. And then it's going to ask me where it wants me to put these files, this OVS, this virtual machine. I'm going to put it on this data store. So typically you'd want to have a local data store on it, although I've seen some people who have done kind of a backup as a service in their environment, put it on shared storage, and they have a backup mechanism for that. But at any rate, we're going to use this data store here. You can, if for demo purposes, do thin provisioning if you want to, but if you're going to deploy this in production, you're definitely going to want to do a thick provisioning inside your environment. All right, so I'm going to select the data store, select Next. Then I'm going to select what LAN I want to put this on. I have a couple presented to this system. Select Next again. And then it's going to show you Ready to Complete. And I'm going to select Finish. Now, I normally don't like to do this within my videos, but the process for deploying this and bring this up and running, get this up and running, does take a little bit of time. What I'll recommend that you do is you look down below to see what time frame you're at, but I am going to kind of stop the video or pause the video through the process as we go through the deployment. Just kind of speed along the video. I think it's nice to keep my demonstration videos around 15 minutes or so. So with that being said, I'm going to hurry the video along as we go through the deployment of this software. Okay, so our OVF has deployed in our environment, and we could see our virtual machine right over here. So one of the things as a part of the deployment process, you don't want to have VMware automatically power on the virtual machine. If you do that, you're going to find that you're going to have to come back and actually destroy the virtual machine and redeploy it, because you actually have to go through one additional step before you actually power on the machine. So what you need to do is go in and edit the virtual machine. And then what we want to do is add a hard drive. And this is actually going to be your repository drive. So we're going to add a new drive, select add, and I'm just going to do a terabyte drive, 1 terabyte, so I'm going to change this to terabytes, select 1, and I'm going to click OK. Alright, so now I got about a terabyte worth of space that I can perform backups to inside my environment. And I'll watch it configure the virtual machine over here, and when it's done, we'll power it on. Alright, so the machine's been configured. So I'm going to go back over to my virtual machine and power it on. And then what we'll do is we'll open up a console to this machine. Okay, we can see that it's booting up here. And I'm going to move this over here so we can get a little bit better view of it. And then we'll watch this machine boot up again. You know, this does take a little bit of time. I'm going to come back and talk to you a little bit about it, but I'm going to pause the video as we kind of go through this process. Okay, I wanted to kind of speak up during the installation process. What we're seeing here is it's saying it's waiting for storage to configure. Elapsed time 30, 60, and 90 seconds. So I know the first time I did my deployment of a VSA, I got a little worried because this definitely goes on for some time. I have seen it take up to 7 or 8 minutes to cycle through before it actually finishes identifying the storage that we've added into this environment. So be aware that you know, when you see this kind of coming off like this, don't be too concerned. You know, this is a normal part of the process, and it does take a while. Okay, our system is finished booting, so there is another procedure that we have to do. We have to go through and actually set up the networking within the virtual machine. If you go through the documentation, which was a part of the extraction that we did to get to the OVF, the instructions are laid out in there, but I'll kind of go through them as well. So we're going to log in as the default user. Obviously, we do want to change that, right? Alright, now that we're logged in, we're going to run a command called net set wizard. It'll kind of walk us through the setting up of the infrastructure. The first thing that it wants on the bottom here is my DNS server, so let me give that to the system. And now it's going to go by a step-by-step process for configuring the network settings. And basically we're going to take, for the most part, we're going to take the default settings. So all we need to do is select next. So we're going to go to the next step, which is step 2. So I'm going to hit enter. All right. Select the type of network configuration we would want for the subnet. So we're going to do a single port. It's going to ask us to select the network adapter. I'm going to select the first one by default. And then here's where I'm going to kind of separate away from the default. I'm going to want to set up a static address on my system, so depends on your environment. So 2. Alright, so I'll set an IP address. I'm going to set a subnet mask. It's going to ask me if I want to obtain my my default gateway from the DHCP server, but I'm going to set this manually again. It's going to ask me to set my domain, so I'm going to set that manually. And it's going to ask me if the configuration is correct, and it is. So move forward. It's going to ask me if I want to configure another subnet, and I'm just going to take the default, which is no. It asks me what subnet I want to activate in case I've configured multiple subnets. I'm going to take the default that we just created. Then we're going to move on to step 3, which is the default, which is pretty much just looking over what we configured already and then saying that yes, this is correct. And the final step is to complete the wizard. So we'll hit enter one more time. And it should drop us off at the prompt. Okay. At this point, we can log into our VSA and do some management of it. So let's do that. Let me open up another browser. The system comes up, and we'll log in again with our default username and password, which we will want to change. And we'll come up here. If you boot into the system or log into the system, right, and this is a blank page, that means the storage somehow didn't get set up right. You maybe didn't add it correctly inside VMware. But if that happens, if this is blank, then that's what's going on. That's what's going on. So at this point, we could expand out, move down to NAS, go to shares. I'll create something real quick just to finish our thought process. And make a CIF share. We'll create it. And once it's online, what I'll do is highlight the path. And then I happen to be remoted into a system here. I'll paste in the path, and you can see that that's up and running. And then now what we could do is we could go into our software, so something like Data Protector. We could log in, and then we could add a device. And then what we'd want to do in this case, since this is a file share, we'd want to do file library, but that would depend on what you created, if it was VTL or NAS or whatnot. And I've got videos that talk in depth about creating VTL, virtual tape library, as well as NAS tape libraries that I'd recommend maybe you go look at if you want to look into this a little bit more. So that's how to deploy a StoreOnce VSA. So I think it's a great solution out there. It allows you to be able to do a few things kind of in a more efficient fashion. I think it's a great way to learn about the product. So you could definitely download this product and install in your environment. And it'll work for 60 days. If you're trying to learn more about the physical appliances, the interface is exactly the same, as you can see. If you're looking to repurpose old hardware, so say somebody's going to decommission some servers in their environment, what you could do is certainly load it up with some more RAM and a bunch of hard drive space, and go get your hypervisor choice again, VMware ESXi or Hyper-V, and then create this virtual machine. You've kind of created a backup appliance that you could perform backup jobs too. So you could certainly do that disk to disk, and then do a copy job off the tape if you wanted to. I also think this is a great solution for remote branch offices as well. A lot of the server horsepower that's coming out nowadays is it's got a lot of cores, a lot of memory can add to a system. So why not install a hypervisor on a system at a remote branch office, and install that application that they want, that one or two applications that they want to run in that side of a remote branch office as virtual machines, and then import a StoreOnce a VSA into that environment and perform backup jobs to that VSA, and then replicate from that StoreOnce virtual SAN appliance to a physical appliance, maybe in a back office. And it's a great way to kind of automate disaster recovery for remote branch offices. So I hope you've got a lot out of this video. Stay tuned for further videos, and thank you very much.